Hello, everyone. Good morning from Cambridge. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this information session on the Advanced Management Program. My name is Alex Donovan-Shockley. I am an assistant director here in executive education, and I've had the pleasure of working on this program for 4 years now. As we wait for some people to join us in this event, if you want to throw in the comments below this event, you can add where you are logging in from today, and what brings you to this session. What are you hoping to get out of it? So with that, I will hand it over to my colleague, Chilton, who is the faculty director of the Advanced Management Program. And we are also joined by Karin Kersten, who is a 2022 AMP alum, who will share some of her experience and takeaways from joining the 2022 cohort. So Court and Karin, I will hand it over to you.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name's Chilton. I'm on the faculty at MIT Sloan. I've worked here for about 11 years, and I've been running as the faculty director. I've been the faculty director for the Advanced Management Program for all that time. I'm delighted to be doing this today with a graduate of our most recent program this past June, Karin Kersten. And I'll give her a chance to introduce herself in just a moment. But if you missed Alex's introduction just a moment ago, just a quick reminder, if you could put in the comment section where you're logging in from today and anything that brings you here or that you're curious about, whether it's MIT or the program or us, it'd be good to know that. And we'll try to respond as best we can. So Karin, how about if I let you introduce yourself a little bit, and then I have some slides to share once you've done that.
Thanks, Court. And it feels like being back at MIT, although it's via the screen. So my name is Karin Kersten. I'm dialing in from Amsterdam, the Netherlands, Europe. And I joined the AMP program in June of this year. It was a bit of perseverance because it was meant to take place even before COVID. And I think this was the 5th time that it should take place. So after 5 times, it was really something to look forward to. So I was attending the June program, and my background is in finance and strategy consulting. I worked at investment banking, and after that at McKinsey & Company in multiple geographies and multiple industries. And after that, I went to banking. After spending several years there, I now just work for a year for a microfinance company, which operates in 13 countries and serves women who mostly live in the slums and do not have access to banking, and to reduce poverty in the world.
Terrific. Thank you for doing that, Karin. And it's always great to hear you talk about what you do. And I'm going to give you, I'm hoping to prompt you to do a little bit more of that as we go along today, because you're representative of the kinds of people that we have in the AMP. And also, you have a particular mission that you're pursuing, which is terrific to hear about as well. So you can see on the slide, that's the first MIT building at its current location that was created in 1912. And the purpose of this, really, I have an agenda slide, but before I show you what we're going to talk about and when and what the sequence will be, the purpose overall is just to give you a feeling for what it's like to be here at MIT, to work together during the course of this program. So part of this is about some logic, but there's also a feeling we're hoping to create on this session, and we're hoping you'll lean in, ask questions. We'll do our best to be responsive. So here's what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. I'll talk for a bit with these slides, but not for very long. I want to get us back to Karin. But our goal is to provide you an overview of the purpose of the program and how it works, and a little bit of information about who tends to come to this program and why people choose to come to this one versus maybe other advanced management programs. And then I'll come back to Karin, and she can talk about how she got here, even after waiting for a while due to COVID, and then what she experienced and how she's been using some of what we did during the course of the program. And then I have some other slides that we might dip into depending upon people's questions. People are always a little bit curious about what it's like here at MIT, so maybe we'll talk about the ecosystem that's all around our campus. It's a super vibrant place, lots of innovation happening all the time. We want to give you a little bit of a sense of that before we leave. So, and then if you are curious about the program, there are some next steps. We can send you a link. So that's what we're planning to do. What I want to do now is just tell you a little bit about MIT. Sometimes people have a lot loaded into their brains about what MIT might be. You know, it's a bunch of techies, nerdy people, Nobel Prize. People have all sorts of associations, and those things are all true. But there are other things that are true too that are important for senior executives who attend this kind of program. Before I do that, I just want to acknowledge all the people who are putting in their location, calling in, dialing in from all over the world. I see Saudi Arabia, India. I saw Singapore earlier. People from here in the States, New Jersey, pretty close by, Cambridge, Massachusetts too. It's wonderful to see all of you. So thanks. Keep on doing that. And again, keep using the comment section if you have a particular question, and we'll try to respond. All right. So a little bit about MIT. You can see our mission there is the block of text on the top. It's to advance knowledge and educate in science, technology, and other areas of scholarship. This mission was created in the last century before really management was invented as a discipline. But that's part of what we're doing in the advanced management program. We're under other areas of scholarship, and we're talking about management, particularly of complex organizations in very dynamic, fast-moving markets. So that's how we're contributing to MIT's mission. What you see over on the right is our logo and our motto, the mind and hand. Many people don't know that MIT began as an engineering school, and that's the approach we take in the advanced management program. It's about, yes, imparting some knowledge based on our research, but it's also about helping people apply it. You don't really know anything until you've tried it out, you've modeled it, you've gone out into the field and tested it. Then we know something. So we approach this with a very sort of hands-on approach. We don't use a lot of case method, although we're perfectly happy to use that when it's appropriate, but we use a wide variety of learning methods, but they're all designed to support mind and hand. Knowing and doing, and trying to close that gap. So that's what we're on about. Now, this animal over here on the left, that's the MIT mascot, often misidentified as a squirrel or a chipmunk. It's actually a beaver, and it's a pretty goofy looking beaver. Most US universities have a mascot, but usually it's a super fierce animal, tiger, shark. That's just not the MIT way. And I'm trying to impart a little bit of sort of the way it is around here. We like nature's engineer, the beaver. The beaver has all sorts of qualities we like. It's hardworking, resilient. The beavers work together and they warn each other about danger. So that's how I want to add to your notion about the MIT brand. This is sort of the attitude we have. It's not a cold and techie place, although it can be techie. But it's a warm place. It's a place where people like to work on important problems. And so that's the attitude to have really about MIT. And the AMP, the Advanced Management Program, is designed to pay that off. Real quickly, this is on the next page is the Sloan mission to develop principled, innovative leaders who improve the world. We also do research that generate ideas, and Karin can maybe talk about some of the research that she saw while she was here that's about management. But mostly, the Advanced Management Program is designed for the first part of this phrase: develop principled, innovative leaders who improve the world. And what I love about Karin is that she has one of these missions to improve the world, particularly for underserved women who may not have access to banking. So she's representative of the Sloan mission, and that's partly why I wanted to do this meeting with her. So there's a humility also about people who come here, the sense that they don't know it all. They still have opportunities to grow and learn as leaders, as people who understand the system they're working in. So that's part of what we're about as well. Now, let me speak specifically to the purposes of the AMP, which is it's meant to provide a transformative learning experience. That's why it's 5 weeks long here on campus. A transformative learning experience for mid-career executives who want a wider view of the world, who want to expand their understanding. but who want to do it in an intimate way. And I know many people may not know that our program, we have a cap of about 40 people. Many other AMPs have 80, 90, 100 people. And so we're trying to have an intimate group that can work with each other on important problems, really bond, really get to know each other, and be helpful after the program is done. So you can see, I'm not going to read each of these slides to you, but you can see some of the other specific agendas that we have about sharing skills, connecting the cohort to MIT. Those are the kinds of things that we're trying to do in this program. And usually over the course of 5 weeks, we have plenty of time of ways, different angles on doing this. Let me talk quickly about who attends and then a little bit more about the learning, and then I'll turn to Karin. So this program is for the most experienced executives that we see in executive education. Usually people have 15 to 20 years experience. They've worked in complex, dynamic jobs, often across geographies or functions. The people who come from all kinds of sectors, generally from outside North America, but not all of them. People who come from outside North America really want to come to MIT and really be here for a while. So the program is super global and international in its makeup. About half the people come, and number 3 there you see 50-50, about half the people who come from large multinational companies. The other half come from startups that can scale, and they're usually pretty senior in those organizations. So complex, mature companies and also rapidly scaling startup companies. People have to speak great English. We don't deliver this in multiple languages. And we generally look for people who have international exposure because very often those are the more complicated problems, and we want to have people who have had that kind of exposure helping others who also share that experience. If people bring an urgent problem or a strategic agenda, that's also good. So that's a rough description of who comes. And then more about our mind and hand methods. I mentioned we don't use the case method all that much. Much of what we do is share frameworks. As you can see here in the second bullet, research-based frameworks. We use exercises, simulations. Karin and a team of other colleagues, they ran a company on a computer for a while. We do a lot of modeling on the whiteboard, much fewer cases than you might see at other business schools. We try to focus the group on helping each other with their real issues. So focus on the real problems, not case problems. Most of our classrooms are flat. They're not the tiered classrooms. The reason we like flat classrooms, especially for the AMP, is because then we can move the room around and people can form and reform groups and really be part of the problem. And the faculty members can be of the group as opposed to down in the pit, as it were. So all of this really works when people who come roll up their sleeves, share their problems, work with other people on their problems, and challenge us, challenge each other. That's the feeling that we're trying to create in the AMP. So that's a little bit of a headline just to give you a sense about what we do. And so now what I want to do is have you talk with Karin about what actually she experienced. It might be a little different than what I said. I think it's roughly this what I'm talking about, but she can give you more granular. And she's on the other, quote unquote, on the other side of the table from me. I'm teaching in the program. She's unfortunately maybe a victim of my teaching. But Karin, let me stop talking and turn it over to you. And then people will learn a lot from what you have to say.
Well, I'm not a victim, Court, but it's like you radiate enthusiasm right through the wires. And thank you for inviting me. And hello to everyone on the wires from all over the world. And I also recognize some Asia countries with Ghana and Kenya and India. So really nice that we have a cross-section across the globe. Yeah, so when I was reflecting on how was MIT, I thought I put down 3 pictures. And one picture is the mens et manus picture, which Kort already elaborated on. So this is the mantra of MIT. And so the mens is the mind part, and like the logic and the materials you learn. And the manus is the apply part. What I really liked in this situation is that it's about learning new models or new theory or, MIT rich knowledge, but apply it. And this application is so rich. So what I did is I had 2 suitcases, virtual. So in the one, I put a strategy for our current company, a digital strategy. And in the other suitcase, I put the whole 360 degrees I got in to go to the coach and get feedback on. And then if you look to the 5 weeks of program, then every single course, there is room to think about or apply or discuss the strategy of your own company, which makes it really valuable that it's not theory and then coming back and then back in a new world and in your daily life and not remembering what all the theories were. But I could apply that. And in my case, we are working on a digital and innovation strategy. And it's really, new and to be rolled out. And so when you are at a senior role in a company, like all of you in the audience do, it's not so much about doing things well or doing things good or in a good manner, but it's about, are you doing the right things? And if you don't choose the right things, then you can do it very well, but it doesn't make a lot of sense if you take an organization of thousands of people. So the mens et manus, and really applying your own direction, vision, strategy, and testing that with MIT knowledge and the peers, that's really valuable. Well, then second is the second picture is student reflection and made easy. Well, what I really like is that in daily life, there are so many meetings, there's pressure, there's targets, there's politics, there's all of that. But when you're back literally at a desk, the only thing to do is there to reflect. And this gave me the reflection that if you look to sport or top sport, which leading roles is in a way a top sport, then top sporters do sit back and reflect and recharge a battery and take time to think. And when we look in our daily lives, at least if I talk for myself, then I have full agendas, but when do I reflect? And so one of the biggest takeaways was how good and rich it is, and how it also is working to take a step back and think about the direction you take. And so student reflection made easy. I do have a kind of a clock that measures my sleep, and I've never, ever slept and recouped and reloaded my battery so well. So yes, the day is full, the program is full, there is social pieces, there's pre-work, and your current work is a bit going on, but still it feels as a really good recharging and reflection time. And then on the right-hand side, so to keep it in a bit of Latin language, so the homo ludens, meaning the playing human being. And so we forget so often how it was to be a child and to just enjoy and be truly in a moment. And to be at MIT is really to be a homo ludens. And I think we forget to do that in the daily life. So there, I took up the skill again, and it was really enjoyable. It's inspiring. It has humor. It's really wonderful to be in a group with 40 people from across the globe. Yeah, Cohort, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, Karin, this is all giving a great sense of the feeling of the place and how it works, and a little bit about what you've taken away. I think you're going to talk a little bit more a bit later about what you've taken away, but I think some people might like to know why you chose to do this at your point in career, how you got to this, and why you may have chosen 5 weeks away from your family and your job is a lot. How you thought about that?
Yeah, so at a point I thought it's good to do learning and reflecting. And so I decided to spend some time on training, and I don't do that often. So it had been 7 years ago. And my reflection was, if I spend time, because what is most scarce at the moment is time. And so if I spend time, it better be, and sorry for the wording, at a damn good school. So I just looked at the best schools in the world. And so then you come up with a list, and I was going to look into how the programs were built up. What I found out is why I chose for MIT is that, yes, it is a top, a top 3 university in the world. So it really has very good quality of faculty, materials. There is a selection, so you will learn from your peers. So I like the fact that it's a top university and thus giving top education. Then what I also looked at is indeed the group size, because it's so important what the learning group is, and it makes a big difference if you're with 10 people or 200. And so the 40 or 30 or 50 or whatever the next or the previous groups are, that makes really a nice size of group. And for me, the mens et manus, so applying your own case, is very important. And other business schools tend to have very well-known paper cases, but then it's on paper and it's not your case. So it's not the real world program, the daily program you're occupied with in your daily mind. So that's why I chose MIT. And last but not least, innovation and digitization is and not to forget sustainability, because that's also really gets a place in the program, are themes that are cutting edge and we need to work on today. And if we are leading, then we better dive into this, because that's what change needs.
Yeah. Thank you for doing that. And what I was hoping that you can do, I'm going to advance the slide here, Karin, that has the bicycle on it. But I just want to say that what I love about the bicycle image, which I have seen before because you showed it here when you were with us in June, here is Karin in Amsterdam, which is a super biking culture. Everybody rides a bike, it seems like. And I wish that Cambridge, which is becoming a biking culture, could be a little bit more like Amsterdam sometimes. So part of the reason I love this next slide is just, I have my own agenda about the city where MIT is. So here we go. All right. So this is a little bit more about what you took away and that kind of thing. Is that right?
Yes, that's it. And Court, there were some bikes and beautiful bike lanes in Cambridge.
There were, but not like Amsterdam.
Well, I started with a sentence like, life is like riding a bike. You have to keep balance and choose the right gearing. So you need to balance certain things and choose when you accelerate and when you wait a bit, and see how all your stakeholders adjust. And when being at MIT, I got some insights on the heart or the spirit or the leadership side of things. And on the other hand, on the mind side of things. So that's more the content and the analytical part. And if I look at both wheels, so to start on the mind side, I had some other learnings, but I just take out one which might also be relevant or appealing to you. So one of the insights I took is that the biggest challenge of a digital transformation is the cultural and behavioral transformation. So very often you think about in a digital transformation about the IT and the difficulties and the links and the APIs and how to make it all work, right, and how to get a good IT implementation. But actually, on top of setting this, very important is the leadership capability. So to set the vision, to get the right governance, to mix your operating culture with the client view, with the business leaders, and then technology or IT is relatively a small angle, and to create a digital ready culture. In our case of our company, ASA, digital is really far away. And we also do serve some client group where women even don't have an own mobile phone, right, let alone they can do a financial transaction on it. So the digital ready culture, that's really an item. And at MIT, you really look through those lenses, but also how to set that leadership capability and how to take along the different groups. Then on the heart or the spirit or the mind side, one of the insights is that there are 5 items that great teams do. And I made bold some items that need attention, well, in my view, in my case, to enlarge in the digital world. So create clarity, build trust, unleash energy, win today and shape tomorrow. So what is it you want to grow in your company, and to think about that lens. In that other left wheel of the heart and the spirit is also the rich 360 feedback you get, and which you can discuss with your coach, but also open up with your peers and ask them how they look at you or what they would advise. So that's very rich learning.
Cool. Thank you. And again, if you're hearing some of this and you have a question, what do you mean by X, or how did you learn that, or whatever you'd like to ask, please put it into the comments section. I see some people have joined us from even more places in the world. Dubai, I'm noticing. And I think I'm also noticing some people who were part of Karin's cohort who are saying hi to us. Maybe they want to say something, I don't know, or at least put it in the comments section. So let me go one more slide. I think you have, Karin, because there's certain things about women in the AMP that I think you want to talk about too. Is that right?
Yeah, that's a good one. And well, in our cohort, there were only 5 women out of a group of 40. So that was, a bit disappointing, I would say. So if there are any females here, or for all the males who have a female at home, who also think about this, or who have a female leader in their company. So I wrote down, female leaders do not hold back. And I wrote down some reasons which I heard around, but I would like to encourage. Because if there's diversity in the world, then decisions are better. There's no group better than the other, but a mixture of everything is good. And so, just 5 women out of 40, I would say that's far too low. So all the women who are in here and who have the hurdles that I at least perceived a little bit before subscribing, I might take that off your plate. Mm-hmm. One is, it's ranked as the best university in the world. Well, what it did to me is, then I cannot apply to that, because I won't be good enough to, I wouldn't be admitted to that. But I turned it to, it's inspiring. So don't hold back if that's your thought, just go for it. And secondly, the technology orientation. So, MIT, technology, innovation. And you might think it's hard coding, but it's not about hard coding, and you will find it relevant. So don't hold back because you think it's too much a technology orientation. Actually, it's super interesting, and every company or organization needs to go with the future. So don't hold back. Well, then another holding back factor might be 5 weeks on another continent from home. I would say after COVID, digital connects the whole world, or half the world, or whole the world. So the ones who are dear to you, you really can keep a connect via digital. And no one is not replaceable, so just go. And then there are not that many role models. However, the women that were there in my group, it was really great to have them around and to see such brave women. And what I saw is that the women who were present, they have sometimes even more roles, like their leadership role, their roles to take care of some family members, their role in extracurricular activities. So that was really nice. So don't hold back. Yeah. And there may be some more female faculty, Court, but you can direct that.
Yes, I agree with all of what you're saying, Karin. It's so interesting to us. We think we have a welcoming environment. We have MIT has people from all over the world in many other programs, but in the senior executive ranks, I think it's part of the problem we're trying to address is we need more women to be of that rank, and we need more women to apply to the program. That's the basic problem we're solving for very often with the AMP. And what I noticed is there's actually a question in the comment section from a woman. And why don't we just try to take one of these now, just to show other people we want to be a little bit interactive in this format. Anita asks, how much emphasis is on startup scaling a growing organization and access to innovation and technology? And I think that's a fairly easy question to answer, Karin. Maybe you want to go ahead and talk about that.
Well, so the answer is the focus is on both. So yes, there is some courses on startups and scaling and what kind of strategies you could have in scaling a startup. But there's also entrepreneurship courses which you can apply also to larger organizations.
Yes.
And what I really liked is, and that was a new word to me, is not entrepreneurship, but entrepreneurship. So whatever large organization you are in, sometimes you have these, innovative hubs where you build a kind of a company in a big company, which is called entrepreneurship. So, and then startup also becomes really, a relevant theme. So I would say it's interesting for entrepreneurs, large, small, and big organizations where you also want to drive change and you're thinking about, do I want to do it within the organization or outside or partner? What's the right strategy? So all of that comes along, and some of it is more relevant than others, but there's always something which is relevant to you.
Yeah. Thank you. I just was going to try to address a little bit the second part of Anita's question about access to innovation and technology. We wouldn't be MIT if we didn't find a way, while you're here for 5 weeks, to introduce you around the campus, try to make you of the culture, so that even if we don't touch on something that you'd like to explore further while you're here, you have a way of picking up the conversation with someone at MIT afterwards. So we go around to see a lot of different labs, the media lab, artificial intelligence lab. Different years we've gone to places that are devoted to energy or to social media or fintech. So we try to adapt to what people are interested in right at the moment, and have you get a little bit of a sense about what kinds of innovation and technology are being worked on right now. Most people at a research university, MIT is one of those, are working on things that are 3 and 5 and 10 years out. And part of what we try to do in the AMP is bring that home to what you need to do today in order to position your organization for the future. So that's why I think this is a relatively easy question to answer. It's just sort of key to the mission of the Advanced Management Program that we expose you to these new innovations, new technologies, and we actually have a whole week devoted to the future. As best we can try to do that. But we also talk for a whole week about entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship, as Karin pointed out. Let's see other questions that people have. If you just want to put them in the comments section. What I thought I would do real quickly is maybe not do all the slides, but I'll do this one here, which is why executives choose us. Karin told you her reasons for choosing us, and she mentioned a couple of these: the intimate cohort, the combination of strategy and technology. She brought her own company's strategy and agenda while she was here. But I want to talk about MIT's ecosystem and culture, because sometimes people are curious about what goes on here. So let me advance these to a place where I think I have it. Oh, no, I don't have it. So what you should know is that I'll leave it here on this one, the takeaways. I won't read it all out to you, but I'm going to be talking about this bullet right here. If you can see my cursor, the 5th one from the bottom, new ideas. And what we want to do is we want to try to give you a sense of the ecosystem. This is, as I mentioned at the outset, a super vibrant place. And there are thousands of startups all around us, and also large companies. So this is a real hub, innovation hub for people in the medical industry, the pharmaceutical industry, biotech, but it's also a hub for technology. So Google, Microsoft, Amazon all have big offices here. The venture capital world has lots of big offices here, and this is often a place that they look to make investments. We're right across the street from the government. So we have all of the 5 stakeholders in an innovation ecosystem that are right here and are tightly connected. So government, a technical university, startups, large companies, and risk capital, the venture and private equity worlds, are all right here, and we try to mix our participants up within them. And Karin, I don't know if you wanted to comment on what you saw, and if you can do that, I'll then come to some of the other questions that I see here in the comment section. Anything about the ecosystem that stuck out to you, Karin?
Well, if you talk about ecosystem, then just walking around and being on one of the most innovative square miles in Cambridge and Boston, you see it all coming together. So you see a helping government, you see a lot of startups, you see top universities, also very concentrated, and startup labs. And so you see the one helping the other. And that was an insight that one of the professors who was talking about these ecosystems would have a map of the world, and some hubs in the world have this magic. And so that also, of course, you live in a place where it's not such a hub and you start to think, should I relocate everything? Or think about the ecosystem and try to influence, and not only think in terms of your own organization as the thing you can influence, but also look at the other angles. So where can you partner or work together with a startup? How friendly is the government? And so, for example, and I do know there's a colleague from Kenya, so we're looking at digitization and innovation, and some countries in Africa are really front runners. And so the local governments are friendly towards digitization. And then we as a company try to look at that, but also we need to partner with startups or build a startup ourselves in order to build a little ecosystem in places where it isn't. But in Boston, you really get the feeling, or in Cambridge, that it comes together and that makes a strength.
Great. There's Dr. Rob Bogosian asks, how does the program work with digitization's impact on business strategy? This is your field, Karin. Anything you want to say about that? I think we're talking about digital almost all the time during the program in different ways, with employees, with customers, with operations. Anything you would want to say about that? Digitalization's impact on business strategy?
Yeah, I would say, is there a difference? Because a business strategy is digitization impact and the other way around. And at MIT, that becomes quite clear because the strategies are fully ingrained with digital and innovation. So not the question is it the one or the other, but how do they interact, and how can you make that relevant and impactful for your organization? So I think it's, the impact really comes across. And what I learned is not to copy what works on others, but to look in your situation to what is a client persona and what is your company doing, and how can you have a super laser focus in serving this persona client the best. And then digital is not a goal in itself. It's just an helper in your strategy.
Yeah, I'm seeing another question here from Avinash. I hope I'm pronouncing his name more or less right. Does this also cover road mapping and strategy to newer and cutting edge technologies? And let me come in on that one because there's so many. We don't talk about road mapping per se, although that's a tool that we do use. But we do talk about how to incorporate new technologies, how to test them, and how to develop a strategy around them and make that dynamic, test and learn. And so if you're looking for a strategy to implement a particular technology, that we do talk about that, but we also want you to pause, because many executives jump to solutions. They go from, I got a vague problem or an agenda that I have, an opportunity that I have, and they jump right to a solution or a technology, and they skip the understanding, the exploration of the problem. And really are trying to figure out what customers need, what roadblocks might be out there. So we'd also talk about those things as well. I'm seeing some other questions here. How is MIT taking advantage of different technologies such as digital twins, remote workplace, metaverse, blockchain? Those are all things that we talk about at various points in the program. What I'll say about that is that that's one of the parts of the program that we keep fresh every year. Karin may not know this, but she saw this year someone talking about quantum computing and machine learning. And each year we add some new things that are on people's minds, like maybe the metaverse or digital twins. And we take other things out that have become more commonplace. So that's how I'm trying to answer LinkedIn user 10:38 a.m. Forgive me for that. It's the best I can do with that question. Let's see, there's some other questions. Are there a focus on public-private partnerships? We've never been asked that before, Mads, but that's an interesting question. We have had people, we do talk about capital structure and different ways of financing organizations, but we've never been asked that particular question before. Maybe we should think about that.
It might well fit in the ecosystem, because there it is about public and private,
yes,
but not about the partnership itself, but about public and private in an ecosystem. Yeah.
James Martinson asks, how does this program ensure progress on developing skills related to the new way of working with remote multidisciplinary teams? And I'm going to speak here, Karin, and then again, I always encourage you to come in. But what amused me this year was that we learned a lot this year from one of the participants who was based in Dubai and who needed to hire lots of machine learning and artificial intelligence people. And it's very hard to get people with that very hard to acquire skill set. It's hard to find them in the first place. And then to get them to move to Dubai, super hard. And so we learned a ton from a presentation from one of the executives in the room, a participant, who talked about a home first strategy and all the things that his company had done to try to help people work from home without burning out, without losing the culture of the organization. It was really fascinating. And so I love that question, James, but I'm saying this to you in part that not all of the wisdom comes from the front of the room. The people without hair or gray hair like mine, we get plenty of advice from people without hair or gray hair in the room too. So wanted you to know about that.
Yeah, and on top of that, the new way of working. So one of the nice program elements was the Agile Way of Working. So there was a kind of an Agile workshop by all leaders with experience in that, and a kind of a role play. So also that was touched upon, like a new way of working.
Yeah. A couple of people noticing that they knew some faculty members like Ali Devek, who is an amazing faculty member. He's never really taught in the AMP. He's an aerospace engineer. That's not giving him all the credit he deserves, but if you know Ali Devek, you know the kind of MIT faculty that we have. Here's Boon Hung Don. I'm an elected representative, a politician. I work in a bank. I'm tasked to grow the country's sustainability in crypto space. I'm glad this, Boon Hong, that you spoke up, because we do. It's not the majority of the participants, but we always have some people that are from government, who are from ministries, or who work in a big nonprofit, maybe an educational institution. And so we have had people who have come to us from, for example, the Thai Trade Ministry. We've had other people who work for the EU. And so people who have complex jobs, who may come from the government sector, are also encouraged to come and usually find it relevant too. Let's see here, Karin. I'm looking for some of the other questions. Is it digitization or is it digital transformation? Hazel. Let's see here how we might address that. I think if George Westerman, who Karin saw, was here, he would say it's really digitization is a small part of what digital transformation includes. And digitization generally is about, helping caterpillars be faster crawling caterpillars, whereas digital transformation is really the process of going from a caterpillar to a butterfly, something that flies. So what we talk about this issue, particularly in the program, and usually most of the learning is about digital transformation. In the course of doing that, you may need to digitize more things, but that's not the primary focus. The focus is on the second part of your question, Hazel. I hope that's helpful. And Karin, again, this is part of your world too that you do every day.
Yeah.
Did I get it right?
I have nothing to add to your answer.
Okay. Thank you for the affirmation for gray hair and hairless folks, James. I appreciate that. Okay. Every now and then I need affirmation too. Let's see. Nam Fung, again, I hope I'm saying your name more or less correct. As you mentioned the innovation, is there synergy between innovation strategy and tech strategy? And again, we view those as very similar, maybe even almost entirely overlapping Venn diagrams, Nam Fung. And so if you're interested in that topic in particular, there is a 2-day program here at MIT, an executive ed program that I've taught in that's all about tech strategy. But but the innovation strategy is all about solving problems and uncovering new kinds of solutions. So they're not exactly the same. The innovation process is a little bit different than just having a tech strategy. Which technologies are we going to adopt? And how do we create, capture, and deliver value with new technologies? This is a slightly different question.
What also might be a good one, Court, is so there is one remark of Anita, like a culture and purpose without burning out. So there's also a female professor in the program who really looks at like how to stay fit and healthy and links that to, what is authentic leadership? And the question is, well, the simple answer might be like, that's just being yourself, and then you're not that fatigued. But she really goes into this. So what is congruence, and what is being yourself, and what is good recovery, and how much sleep would you need? And so in these stressful or long days, that's really very practical in looking at it, and also in what role do you take? Who do you take from home and to home, and how congruent is it?
Yeah.
And how can you look at that?
Yeah, so glad you brought that up. I'd forgotten because the woman that Karin is talking about is named Elspeth Johnson. She's terrific, and she does do a whole session, 2 of them, about managing yourself, and that's part of the goal of the AMP is to help executives refresh themselves, be resilient. And so we spend some time on that. We do yoga, we take people away from the classroom, we let them rest at night. All those kinds of things are an important part of the experience. But the beautiful part, I don't know if this is beautiful for Karin, but it is for me, is that Elspeth is primarily a strategy professor. And she also has a sideline in sort of resilience, because what she's found is that leaders who are trying to have their strategy be live and dynamic and adjust to marketplace circumstances, they won't adjust as well if they aren't fresh and resilient and managing themselves. So that's why she has this interesting cross-disciplinary teaching areas that she teaches in, resilience and also dynamic strategy. Let's see what else is happening here. I want to make sure I leave some time to talk about what we look for and how to apply if this is interested to you at all. We've never used newsletters to give out information. We mostly rely on our website. That's for Sazad Hussain. And Nam Fung, is it possible that we can create business autodynamic? I'm not quite sure I know what that means, by using impact factors and influence factors. Test it like an auto mechanism. Wow, Nemfong, that's language I don't use every day. Forgive me for not being able to respond. Happy to respond to you offline if you wanted to reach out to me separately. I know that we don't have any sessions called that, but maybe by other language, I might be able to point out whether we do or don't talk about.
It resonates with machine learning as well, like autodynamic or machine learning to make a self-learning system that's in the program, if that's resonating.
Thanks, Karin, for trying to help me. That is sort of where I was headed, but I wasn't sure if that's what Nemfong meant. So let's see. James asks, how could this program ensure healthy leadership with such stressful and high expectations environment? This is a topic nobody talks about. And I think that is something that we talk about a lot while we're here. I mean, leadership is underneath everything that we do during the 5 weeks. We talk a lot about resilience. We give people a coach, one-on-one coach to talk to during the course of this program. That's just the 360 feedback that Karin mentioned. What did you notice about that confluence there that James brings up? Healthy leadership despite the stresses that we're all working in.
Well, it's part of the program, but also there the peer learning is really valuable because you'll find peers who also are in situations that, you are in a turmoil in your company or something stressful happens in or outside your job. How do you deal with politics? How do you keep healthy? How do you choose if you have to choose from sleep and doing something social? How do you keep all the balls rolling and make enough me time? So it's also very valuable to talk to the peers. And as an example, we had one little dinner with 4 or 5 women, and that was really amazing. Then you're in a smaller setting to hear what's all on the plate and what the different coping mechanisms are. And then you also really learn a lot. And also by being there for 5 weeks, it's so healthy because you sleep very well, you'll sport and you recharge your battery and know to keep that rolling whilst back.
Yeah. A couple quick questions that have come up in the comment section from Roman. What's the difference between the ACE program, the cohort opportunities on campus, executive certificates? The ACE is the same certificate that people who graduate from the AMP get. The difference is that the people who get the ACE choose their own program. And so they get the same amount of experience at MIT. They come for 25 days of learning. They just space it out over the course of 4 years, Roman. So they choose the courses, whereas in the AMP, I, with my team, curate the content and design it so it fits in the 5 weeks. So it's the same outcome. It's a little bit different cohort experience. You're meeting different people at different times, whereas the AMP cohort is together for 5 weeks, and it's only the AMP cohort. So that's the main difference between the ACE and the AMP. Karin Sood, does this program also cover strategy aspects focused on partnerships, ecosystem play, marketplaces? Yes, we do a whole several days on platform strategy, which is marketplaces in my way of thinking. Ecosystems, Karin mentioned some of the presentations that we do about that. So yeah, that's part of what we think of as a senior level strategic issue are the kinds of things that we try to design this course for. Anything that's sort of enterprise-wide, cross-cutting of the enterprise, that's the kind of content we put into the course. We try to, if we're going to talk about something more basic or functional, we try to just make it a quick refresh for participants. We expect people to know the basics of finance. Many of the people, I don't want to say most, but I think it is most years, already have an MBA. So we're not doing MBA level content. This is for people with complex jobs who have enterprise-wide agendas. I'm hoping that's helpful to you. It's 10:53. We're just about at the time. Karin, I'm going to just say a little bit about what we look for, but maybe you have some thoughts about the cohort, the kinds of people that you met that struck you while you're here. Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, that's really a good one because we haven't touched upon that very much. But the peers is not only relevant for peer learning, but also for after the course. So there is a group, you have a kind of the same language, and you can really easily reach out. And that already has happened. And so, for example, one lady out of our group was Indian and came exactly out of the region where we are active in microcredits. And she was working at a very big technology platform company, and we are rolling out a technical a platform and a marketplace, actually. And so we linked in a dialogue with the CEO and her, really fruitful to get her insight. So the alumni aspect of the group, not only the peers, but also access to faculty, is very valuable.
Yeah. Cool. I see Abhijit has asked about, does AMP give full alumni status? You can become an alumnus of Sloan, the management school here at MIT. If you're thinking MIT alumni, that's a different thing. That's for people who get their undergraduate degree here. One other little nugget, we give, you become the same status as someone who went for and got their 2-year MBA here at Sloan. But we put a slightly different designation, because in order to get an MBA here, you have to pass tests and be interviewed, and pass tests to get in, and then also pass tests to get out, which you don't have to do with the AMP. So we indicate that on your status, but you get invited to everything. You'll be asked for money. So you have all the same rights and privileges as someone who went to Sloan, Abhijit, if that helps you. So I'm just cognizant of the time. Here are some other reflections from other people who have come here about how AMP changed them. You can see some of this on our website, and that's what I'm really headed for here. So the next steps, this is the last slide I have, is if you have questions or more information, there's an email address that you can see right there. We answer questions about this program throughout the year. People ask us all kinds of questions. Can I bring my dog? What about my family? Does you cover this content? All of those questions are good. We want you to ask them. And if you're thinking about applying, that's where you do it. And you have to sort of give us a little bit of information about yourself, submit a LinkedIn profile, maybe a CV, and then I or one of my colleagues will, we interview everybody because it's an intimate cohort. I want to make sure people are coming with the right expectations. They're coming with the right motivations that can be helpful to each other. And so that's why we do what we do in terms of the application process. So it's 10:56. I'll stick around here if people want to stick around a little bit and ask some questions. We'll keep this live, but I think we'll take the slides off now and just be here. And I just want to say thank you, Karin, for doing this with me. It's so great to hear from you again. I love your, just your voice alone was lifted me up a little bit. And also your story generally is inspiring. And thank you for doing this. And thank you for everybody else who was able to join.
Thanks very much, Court, and to the people in the audience. If you still do have some questions to someone who participated, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or via MIT, Karin Kersten.
Yeah. There's a question from Abhijit about the EPGM versus the AMP. That's another longer program, takes place over the course of a year. Usually it's for people who don't have quite as much experience as the people who come to the AMP. It's also a different format. Part of it is here on campus, but also part of it is online. But very similar courses, slightly different profile of participants. All right, Namfum, thank you for coming. Tony, Abhijit, thanks for your questions. And everybody else who's still there and not asking questions, we're glad you came too.